Tonight, however, the usual symphony of dining had a discordant note, a subtle tension. At table 7 sat Mr. Alistair Finch. 30 years old, he was a man accustomed to getting exactly what he wanted. His tailored suit, a shade of midnight blue that seemed to absorb the light, spoke of wealth that was both immense and effortless. He'd arrived alone, a rarity, and had spent the last hour nursing a single glass of single malt scotch, his gaze sweeping over the room with an almost detached curiosity. It wasn't often that Finch found himself in a public establishment. His life was usually a meticulously curated affair, conducted behind the velvet ropes of exclusive clubs and private dining rooms. But tonight, something had drawn him here, a whisper of an idea, a fleeting impulse. Across the bustling dining room, a different world unfolded. Her name was Clara, and at 25, her uniform, a crisp white blouse and a sensible black skirt, did little to conceal the weariness etched around her eyes. She moved with a quiet efficiency, balancing trays laden with gourmet dishes, her mind a constant calculation of orders, table numbers, and the ever-present need for a smile. Clara wasn't just a waitress. She was a student, a daughter, a dreamer. The tips she earned here funded her night classes in literature, a small rebellion against the mundane reality of her days. She'd learned to read the room, to anticipate needs, to disappear when necessary and reappear with precisely what was required. The restaurant was her stage, and tonight, like every night, she played her part with unwavering dedication. Finch had noticed her almost immediately. It wasn't her appearance, though she possessed a natural, unadorned beauty. It was the way she moved, the quiet dignity she carried, a flicker of something more beneath the professional veneer. He'd watched her for a while, his initial boredom slowly giving way to a peculiar interest. She seemed out of place, a wildflower in a Bach manicured garden. He'd seen that look before, the quiet fire that hid behind tired eyes. It reminded him of a younger version of himself, before the deals, the mergers, the relentless pursuit of more. He'd often wondered what happened to those raw ambitions, those unexpressed talents. He signaled her over, a subtle flick of his wrist. Clara approached, her expression neutral, professional. "Is everything to your satisfaction, sir?" she asked, her voice soft but clear, cutting through the ambient noise. Finch met her gaze, a faint smile playing on his lips. "More than satisfactory, I assure you," he said, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. He paused, letting his gaze linger for a moment. "Tell me, Clara, do you enjoy working here?" Clara blinked, surprised by the personal nature of the question. Waiters were usually asked about the food, the wine, the bill. "It has its moments, sir," she replied, choosing her words carefully. "It's a learning experience." Finch chuckled, a low, rich sound. "A learning experience," he echoed. "Indeed. And what is it you're learning, Clara? Besides the art of balancing a tray?" She hesitated, unsure if she was stepping on dangerous ground. "I'm learning about people, sir. About how they are when they think no one is watching." "Intriguing." Finch mused. "And what have you observed?" "That most people are looking for something. Connection, perhaps. Or just a good meal." She offered a polite, practiced smile. "Can I get you anything else?" Finch leaned back, his eyes never leaving hers. "Perhaps," he said, his voice dropping a notch. "I've been watching you. You have a certain presence." Clara's cheeks flushed slightly. "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me," Finch said. "It's an observation. And I'm a man who values observation. It leads to opportunities." He gestured to her simple silver necklace, a tiny, almost invisible locket. "What do you hide in there, Clara? Secrets?" "No, sir," she said, touching the locket instinctively. "Just memories." "Memories are valuable," Finch stated. "Tell me, Clara, what's your greatest memory?" The question hung in the air, heavy and unexpected. Clara found herself flustered. This was far beyond the usual pleasantries. I'm not sure I understand, sir." Finch leaned forward, his gaze intense. "It's simple. What is the moment that defines you? The one you carry with you, like a precious jewel?" Clara's mind raced. So many moments flashed before her eyes. Her mother's proud smile at her graduation, the first time she'd seen the ocean, the thrill of acing a difficult exam. But one memory, a distant, almost forgotten one, surfaced with startling clarity. It was from her childhood, a summer fair, a small stage, and a song that had captured her heart. She had been too shy, too small, to step forward then. Finch seemed to sense her hesitation. "It's all right," he said softly. "Sometimes, the greatest moments are the ones we almost had. The paths not taken." He picked up his scotch glass, swirling the amber liquid. "I believe everyone has a song inside them, Clara. A hidden melody waiting to be heard. Do you have a song?" Clara's breath hitched. The question felt impossibly personal, yet strangely kind. She'd always loved to sing, a secret passion she indulged only in the quiet solitude of her apartment. Her voice, she knew, was her one true gift, a gift she rarely shared. I used to sing, sir," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Finch's eyes gleamed with a new intensity. "Used to? Why used to?" "Life, sir," she said, a touch of weariness creeping back into her tone. "Responsibilities. It's hard to find the time. Or the courage." "Courage," Finch mused, nodding slowly. "Yes, courage is often the missing ingredient. So many potential symphonies remain unplayed because the conductor lacks the will to lift the baton." He set his glass down with a decisive click. "Tell you what, Clara, I'm feeling inspired tonight. I'm going to make you an offer." Clara's heart gave a little lurch. Offers from men like Finch usually came with strings attached. Strings made of gold, perhaps, but strings nonetheless. "Sir, I will give you," Finch began, his voice gaining a theatrical flourish, $100. Right now, in cash. He reached into his inner jacket pocket. "For you to sing one song. Right here, right now, for everyone in this restaurant to hear." Clara stared at him, speechless. $100? For one song? The absurdity of it, the sheer audacity, left her reeling. She looked around the opulent dining room, filled with well-dressed patrons engaged in their own private dramas. The idea was preposterous. Humiliating, even. "You can't be serious." She managed to stammer out. Finch produced a thick wad of bills from his pocket, peeling off a crisp $100 note. He placed it on the table between them, a silent, tangible challenge. "I am always serious when it comes to opportunity, Clara, and I see an opportunity for you. And perhaps," he added, a hint of challenge in his voice, "for me, to witness something remarkable." He pushed the money closer to her. One song, $100, a moment of pure, unadulterated expression. "What do you say?" The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. The clinking of glasses softened, conversations dwindled to whispers. Heads began to turn, drawn by the unusual exchange unfolding at table 7. Clara felt a prickle of heat crawl up her neck. This was mortifying. It was also, strangely tempting. $100 would pay for her textbooks for the semester. And the sheer nerve of it, the challenge, it ignited something within her, a spark of the defiance she'd felt as a child, the one that had been slowly buried under years of relentless practicality. "And what if I refuse?" Clara asked, her voice trembling slightly. Finch smiled, a genuine, disarming smile this time. "Then the $100 stays with me, and you go back to your duties. No harm done, but you'll always wonder, won't you? What if you had taken the chance?" He tapped the bill. "This is more than just money, Clara. It's a dare to step out of the shadows, if only for a few minutes." Clara looked at the bill, then at Finch's expectant face. She saw not just a wealthy patron, but a man who had, in his own peculiar way, seen something in her that others had missed. He saw the singer, not just the waitress. The raw, untapped potential. The dare was irresistible. It was also a little terrifying. She thought of her literature class, the discussions about art, about pushing boundaries, about the courage it took to create. This was her chance to create something, even if it was just a fleeting moment of song. She took a deep breath, the scent of expensive perfume and roasted duck filling her lungs. The eyes of the restaurant felt like a physical weight. She could feel the whispers starting, the curious glances. But Finch's gaze was steady, encouraging. He wasn't mocking her. He was offering her a pedestal, however temporary. What song? Finch prompted gently, sensing her wavering resolve. Do you have a song in mind? Clara's mind, which had been a whirlwind of panic and consideration, suddenly cleared. One song, one chance. It had to be right. A song that meant something. A song that could convey what she felt, what she often couldn't put into words. A classic. Something with soul. There's a song, Clara said, her voice gaining a surprising strength. An old one. About finding your voice. Finch's smile widened. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. He picked up the $100 bill and held it out to her. Then consider it yours, Clara. The moment you finished the last note, Clara hesitated for only a beat. Then, with a surge of adrenaline she hadn't felt in years, she reached out and took the bill. It felt crisp and real in her hand. She tucked it carefully into the pocket of her uniform, a small, secret victory. Very well, Mr. Finch, Clara said, her voice now clear and steady, the tremor gone. I accept your dare. A ripple of anticipation went through the dining room. Waiters paused in their duties. Dishwashers craned their necks. Even the maitre d' looked intrigued. Finch inclined his head, a gesture of deep satisfaction. Excellent. The stage awaits, Clara. He gestured with his fork towards the small, usually ignored alcove, near the entrance, where a lone, dusty microphone stood beside an old, out-of-tune piano. It was a relic from a bygone era, a forgotten corner of the restaurant. Don't let us wait too long. Clara walked towards the alcove, her legs feeling a little shaky, but her resolve firm. The $100 was a potent motivator, but it was more than that. It was the sudden, exhilarating prospect of being seen, of being heard. She reached the microphone, its metal cool beneath her fingers. She looked back at Finch, who gave her a subtle nod. The restaurant was now a sea of expectant faces. She could feel their curiosity, their skepticism, their amusement. It was a daunting spotlight, but as she stood there, the microphone in her hand, she felt a strange sense of calm descend. This was it, her moment. She took another deep breath, closed her eyes for a fleeting second, and imagined herself back on that childhood stage, the scent of popcorn and candy floss in the air. She was no longer just Clara, the waitress. She was Clara, the singer who had a song to sing. She opened her eyes, scanned the silent, watching faces, and then she began. The first few notes, hesitant at first, then gaining confidence, emerged from the silence. Her voice, clear and pure, filled the room, a stark contrast to the usual clatter and chatter. The melody was simple, yet profound, a ballad of hope and resilience. As she sang, the weariness seemed to melt away, replaced by an inner light. The memories of her mother's smile, the vastness of the ocean, the thrill of learning, they all found their way into her song. Finch watched, utterly captivated. He had expected a decent voice, perhaps a bit of amateur flair. He had not expected this. Her voice wasn't just technically proficient, it was imbued with a raw, untamed emotion that resonated deep within the listeners. It spoke of struggle, of dreams deferred, of the quiet strength it takes to simply keep going. Each note was delivered with a conviction that belied her profession. The patrons, initially amused or indifferent, were now leaning forward, their faces rapt. The skepticism had vanished, replaced by a stunned silence. They weren't just hearing a song, they were hearing a story, a life unfolding in melody and verse. She sang of lonely nights and early mornings, of sacrifices made and dreams held tight against the tide of reality. Her voice soared and dipped, conveying a range of emotions that silenced every whisper. The $100 felt like a distant memory, insignificant compared to the raw power of her performance. Finch, the man who had orchestrated this moment with a casual dare, found himself unexpectedly moved. He'd seen talent before, of course, but this was different. This was pure, unadulterated soul, laid bare for all to witness. It was the sound of a spirit refusing to be confined. As the song reached its crescendo, Clara's voice filled with a palpable yearning, a powerful plea for understanding, for recognition. The final note hung in the air, a perfect, crystalline sound that seemed to vibrate through the very foundations of the restaurant. Then, silence. A profound, absolute silence that was more potent than any applause. It was the sound of a room collectively holding its breath, stunned into awe. Clara stood, her chest heaving slightly, her eyes now open and clear, meeting Finch's gaze. In that moment, a transformation had occurred. The waitress had vanished, replaced by an artist. The dare had become a revelation. The entire restaurant, from the busboys to the wealthiest patrons, was united in a single, unspoken emotion: wonder. They had come expecting a novelty, a brief distraction. They had received a gift. Finch rose slowly from his seat, a complex expression on his face. He had a reputation for spotting potential, for investing in the next big thing. And in Clara, he saw not just a singer, but a force. The dare had been a gamble, a whim. But as he looked at her, bathed in the warm light of the chandelier, her eyes shining with a mixture of vulnerability and triumph, he knew he had just witnessed something extraordinary. He had dared a waitress to sing, and she had, in turn, dared them all to truly listen. The silence that followed her song was not empty. It was full of the echo of her voice, a testament to the power of a single, courageous act. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a silence that promised much more to come. The challenge had been laid, the wager accepted. Now, the real performance, the one that would unfold long after the last note faded, was about to begin. Finch, a man who never left things to chance, felt a thrill of anticipation. He had a feeling this was just the opening act. The true melody was yet to be composed, and he, Alistair Finch, had a vested interest in hearing its full, glorious rendition. The $100 was already forgotten. This was about something far more valuable. It was about unlocking a talent, about witnessing a star ascend. He had seen the spark. Now, he was curious to see the blaze. The dare had been the catalyst. What would follow? That was the real question. And Alistair Finch was very good at finding answers. The restaurant remained hushed, the air thick with unspoken possibilities. Clara, still standing by the microphone, looked at Finch, a silent question in her eyes. The dare was over, but the story had just begun. The promise of that $100 had been fulfilled, but the unspoken offer, the one that hung in the charged atmosphere between them, was far grander. It was an offer of a future sung, a future where the shy waitress finally found her true voice. This was not just about $100 anymore. It was about potential. It was about the raw, undeniable talent that Finch had glimpsed in the tired eyes of a waitress. He had thrown down a gauntlet, a simple dare, and she had answered with a performance that had silenced a room full of strangers. He had seen the transformation, the moment the ordinary became extraordinary. He had seen Clara, the waitress, disappear, and Clara, the artist, emerge. He had expected a fleeting moment of amusement, a brief spectacle. He had received a profound display of courage and artistry. The $100 was a token, a symbolic prize for accepting the challenge. But the true reward was the performance itself, the liberation of a suppressed talent. Finch, a man who dealt in vast sums and calculated risks, felt a surge of excitement that transcended mere financial gain. He saw in Clara a story waiting to be told, a journey waiting to be embarked upon. He had always believed that true wealth lay not just in money, but in recognizing and nurturing potential. And Clara, with her haunting voice and her quiet dignity, was a diamond in the rough, waiting to be polished. He had seen her talent, raw and undeniable, and he knew, with the certainty that had made him a millionaire, that this was more than just a spontaneous moment. This was a turning point. The dare had been a spark, but the fire, Finch suspected, was only just beginning to ignite. He had initiated the interaction, but Clara had truly stolen the show. She had taken his simple dare and turned it into a profound declaration of self. She had sung not just for the money, but for herself, for the sheer joy and necessity of expression. And in doing so, she had captured the attention of everyone in the room, most importantly, his. The silence that followed her song was a testament to its power. It was a silence of respect, of awe, of dawning realization. People who had been preoccupied with their own lives, their own conversations, were now united in their appreciation of her gift. Finch savored the moment, the palpable shift in the atmosphere. He had often been the one to command attention, to orchestrate events. Tonight, he was content to be an observer, a witness to something truly special. He had thrown a pebble into the still waters of the restaurant, and the ripples were spreading, touching every soul present. The $100 was a paltry sum compared to the impact of her song. It was a symbol of his initial impulse, but it palled in comparison to the awakening he had just witnessed. He had dared her to sing, and she had sung her heart out, revealing a depth of talent and emotion that had captivated them all. He had seen the vulnerability in her eyes as she began, and the quiet triumph as she finished. It was a journey he had witnessed in mere minutes, a story of courage and self-discovery. The restaurant was still silent, the spell unbroken. Finch knew that this moment, this dare, was not just about $100. It was about unlocking a hidden potential, about giving a voice to the voiceless. It was about the profound impact one person's courage could have on a room full of strangers. He looked at Clara, and a new thought began to form in his mind, a thought that went far beyond the initial dare. He had seen her potential. Now, he was curious to see how far she could go. The silence was deafening, but it was also pregnant with possibility. The dare had been made and accepted. The song had been sung. And in the hush that followed, a new chapter had begun for Clara, and perhaps for Alistair Finch as well. He had a feeling this was just the prelude to a much grander symphony. The $100 was a down payment on a much larger promise. A promise of talent, of dedication, of a future waiting to be claimed. The room remained frozen, caught in the afterglow of her voice. It was a silence that demanded to be broken, not by chatter, but by something equally profound. And Finch, ever the opportunist, was already thinking about how to orchestrate that next, vital movement. The dare had been the spark, the song, the revelation. What came next would be the symphony, and Alistair Finch intended to be there to conduct it. The $100, now tucked into Clara's pocket, represented a small exchange, but the exchange that had truly taken place was far more significant. The transformation of a waitress into an artist, under the watchful eye of a millionaire who recognized a rare and precious gift. The silence stretched, a powerful testament to the impact of her performance. It was the sound of minds being changed, of hearts being stirred. It was the sound of potential being recognized. Finch, a man who thrived on vision, saw it clearly. He had dared Clara to sing, and she had sung a song that would echo in the minds of everyone present for a long time to come. The $100 was a mere footnote. The true value lay in the unearthing of a remarkable talent. He had seen the future, and it was singing. The dare was over, but the music had just begun. He had initiated a moment, but Clara had made it legendary. The silence was his victory, and hers. The $100 was just the price of admission to a show he would never forget. He had bought himself a moment of entertainment, but he had also, perhaps, stumbled upon something far more substantial, a diamond in the rough, a voice waiting to be amplified. The dare had been a gamble, but it felt like the best investment he'd made in years. He had dared a waitress to sing. She had done more than sing. She had sung her soul. And in doing so, she had silenced a restaurant and captured the attention of a millionaire. The $100 was already forgotten. The melody, however, would linger. Finch approached Clara, the $100 still in her hand. "That was remarkable," he said, his voice hushed. "You have a gift, Clara." "A rare gift." Clara looked at him, surprised by his directness. "Thank you, sir," she replied, her voice still a little shaky from the performance. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. Spur of the moment or not, it was captivating, Finch insisted. He reached into his pocket again, this time producing a sleek, minimalist business card. "Alistair Finch. I'm an investor. I deal in potential. And you, Clara, have an abundance of it." Clara took the card. It was heavy, embossed with his name in silver lettering. "An investor?" she echoed, a flicker of disbelief in her eyes. "Precisely," Finch confirmed, his gaze unwavering. "I believe that talent, true talent, deserves to be nurtured. That song you sang, it's a story waiting to be told on a much larger stage. I want to help you tell it." The restaurant patrons, having slowly returned to their meals, were still buzzing about the impromptu performance. Whispers followed Clara as she began clearing tables. the business card clutched in her hand. It felt like a dream. A millionaire, a dare, $100, and now, an offer. It was too much to process. What do you mean? Help me? Clara asked, trying to keep her voice even. I sing. That's all. That's not all. Clara, Finch corrected her, his tone gentle but firm. That's everything. It's passion, it's expression, it's a connection that transcends words. I want to offer you an opportunity, a chance to hone your craft, to perform for audiences who will truly appreciate your gift. He gestured vaguely around the restaurant. This is a start, but it's not your destination. There are vocal coaches, producers, venues, a whole world waiting for a voice like yours. Clara's mind raced. Vocal coaches, producers? These were words from a life she had only dared to imagine. In her quietest moments, poring over literature textbooks, dreaming of worlds beyond her reach. I don't know what to say. It's all very sudden. Life-changing opportunities often are. Finch stated pragmatically. Think about it. Read my card. Call me when you're ready. No pressure. But don't let this moment, this feeling you gave everyone in this room, fade away. Don't let it become just another memory. He stood, straightening his impeccable suit. I have a feeling this isn't the last time we'll speak. Clara. He offered a slight nod and then, with a final, assessing look, he turned and walked out of the restaurant, leaving Clara standing amidst the lingering applause and the scent of expensive food. The weight of his business card, a tangible promise in her hand. The $100 felt suddenly insignificant. Finch had dared her to sing, and in doing so, he had opened a door she never thought possible. The silence that had followed her song was now replaced by the deafening roar of her own racing thoughts. What if she took him up on his offer? What if this was her chance? The weight of the decision, coupled with the lingering adrenaline, was overwhelming. She looked down at the card, then back at the now empty table 7. The dare was complete, the money earned, but the real challenge, the one Finch had truly offered, was just beginning. She had sung her heart out for $100 and a dare. Now, she had to decide if she was brave enough to sing for a future she had only ever dreamed of. The restaurant slowly returned to its normal rhythm, but for Clara, everything had changed. The quiet waitress had, for a few breathtaking minutes, become a star. And now, the universe seemed to be asking her, was she ready to claim her stage? The $100 was a tangible reward, but the intangible prize, the possibility of a dream realized, was far more precious and far more daunting. She tucked the card securely into her apron pocket, a secret treasure. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Clara felt a surge of genuine hope, a melody beginning to form in the quiet corners of her heart. Finch had dared her. She had sung. Now, the real question was, would she dare to follow the music? The restaurant hummed around her, but in her ears, there was only the echo of Finch's words and the promise of a song yet to be sung. The $100 was earned, but the real payment was the spark of possibility he had ignited within her. She took a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of opportunity and the faint memory of her own voice. The dare was over, but the journey had just begun. Finch's parting words, I have a feeling this isn't the last time we'll speak, echoed in Clara's mind. It wasn't just a polite closing. It was a statement of intent. He had seen something in her, a raw potential that resonated with his own relentless drive for success. He was not a man to let a promising opportunity slip through his fingers. The $100 was a token, a small price for initiating contact and gauging her reaction. But the true prize, he believed, was Clara herself. Her voice was exceptional, yes, but it was her spirit, the quiet resilience beneath the weariness, that had truly caught his attention. He had made a name for himself by identifying burgeoning talent and providing the resources to help it flourish. He had turned aspiring artists into global sensations, driven by his keen eye for potential and his unwavering belief in the power of ambition. Clara was different, however. She wasn't seeking fame. She was simply trying to survive, to pursue her education. That lack of overt ambition made her raw talent even more potent, more genuine. It was untainted by the usual striving, the desperate need for validation. Her song was not a performance, it was an outpouring. Finch understood that such authenticity was rare and incredibly valuable. He knew that. The path from a diner waitress to a recognized artist was fraught with challenges, but he was confident in his ability to guide her. He envisioned a carefully managed career, vocal training, professional songwriting, strategic public appearances. He saw her grace and her natural stage presence, honed by years of service, translating into a captivating performer. He saw her story, the everyday struggle, and the extraordinary talent, becoming a narrative that would resonate with millions. The $100 was a small detail, a conversation starter. The real investment was yet to come. He had planted the seed of an idea, a possibility, and now he would wait for Clara to water it. He trusted that the impact of her song and the weight of his offer would compel her to reach out. He had no doubt she would. Finch was a man of action, but he also understood the power of patience. He had thrown down the dare, and she had answered. Now, the ball was in her court, but he had ensured, with the carefully chosen words and the weighty business card, that she knew he was waiting, ready to help her orchestrate the next movement in her life symphony. He drove away from the restaurant that night, the city lights blurring past his tinted windows, his mind already working on the intricate logistics of nurturing a new talent. He had a reputation to uphold, and Clara, he felt, was destined to become his latest triumph. The dare had been a gamble, a moment of impulse, but it had yielded a significant return. He had discovered a voice, a story, a potential star, and Alistair Finch was not about to let that potential go to waste. The $100 was the initial catalyst, but the true value lay in what it could unlock. He had set the stage. Now, he waited for Clara to step into the spotlight. He knew she would. The music, after all, was already playing. The days that followed were a blur for Clara. The $100 sat in her wallet, a constant reminder of the dare and the extraordinary encounter. She found herself replaying Finch's words, his offer, over and over in her mind. Could she really do it? Could she leave the familiar, predictable rhythm of the diner, the late-night study sessions, for an uncertain future in the music industry? Doubt gnawed at her. A familiar companion. It whispered tales of failure, of disappointment, of dreams that crumbled under the harsh light of reality. It told her she was just a waitress, a girl with a decent voice, nothing more. But then, she would close her eyes and remember the silence. The profound, absolute silence that had fallen over the restaurant when she sang. It wasn't just the absence of noise. It was a collective holding of breath, a shared moment of awe. She remembered the faces, no longer indifferent or judgmental, but rapt, attentive, moved. That memory was a powerful antidote to her doubt. It was proof that her voice, her song, had the power to connect, to stir something deep within people. She looked at Finch's business card again. Alistair Finch, investor, potential. He saw something in her that she herself had struggled to fully grasp. He saw not just a waitress, but a performer, an artist. His offer wasn't just about money. It was about belief. Belief in her talent, belief in her future. And as she weighed her fears against this burgeoning hope, a new melody began to form within her, a song of courage, of seizing the moment. One crisp autumn evening, after a particularly exhausting shift, Clara found herself standing outside her small apartment, the business card in her hand. She took a deep breath, the city air sharp and cool. This was it, the turning point. The moment she had to decide whether to stay in the safe harbor of the familiar or set sail for the open sea. She thought of her literature classes, the stories of heroes and heroines who had faced impossible odds, who had dared to step into the unknown. She thought of the characters who found their voices, who defied their circumstances. She was one of them now. With trembling fingers, she dialed the number on the card. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Just as she was about to hang up, a deep, calm voice answered. "Finch, Mr. Finch," Clara began, her voice surprisingly steady. "It's Clara." There was a brief pause, then a low chuckle. "Clara, I was hoping you'd call. I knew you had it in you." His tone was warm, encouraging, devoid of any of the transactional coolness she might have expected. "What took you so long?" I had some thinking to do," Clara admitted. "It's a big decision. The biggest decisions often lead to the greatest rewards," Finch replied smoothly. Are you ready to take the first step? I've already spoken with a few people. A vocal coach who works with some of the industry's best. A songwriter who has a knack for capturing raw emotion. They're eager to meet you. Clara's heart leaped. He had already started. He wasn't just offering an abstract possibility. He was putting concrete plans into motion. This was real. This was happening. Yes. She breathed, the word a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Yes, I'm ready. Finch's voice held a note of satisfaction. Excellent. I'll arrange a meeting for next week. I'll send someone to pick you up. Don't worry about anything, Clara. Just focus on your voice. That's all that matters now. The call ended, and Clara stood on her doorstep, a wide smile spreading across her face. The fear hadn't entirely vanished, but it was now dwarfed by an exhilarating sense of possibility. She had dared to sing, and in doing so, she had unlocked a future she had only dared to dream of. The $100 was a memory, a symbol of a dare, but the true payment was this, the chance to finally let her voice soar. Alistair Finch was a man who understood the power of narrative. He had seen Clara's story unfold in real time. The hesitant waitress, the unexpected dare, the breathtaking performance, and the ultimate leap of faith. He recognized that her journey, her transformation, was a compelling narrative in itself, one that would resonate deeply with an audience. He didn't just see a singer. He saw a story waiting to be amplified, a message waiting to be delivered. His vision for Clara extended far beyond a few well-executed songs. He envisioned a carefully crafted public persona, one that emphasized her authenticity, her journey from humble beginnings to artistic expression. He knew that the public was drawn to stories of ordinary people achieving extraordinary things. Clara's story was exactly that. Finch, with his shrewd understanding of the entertainment world, knew how to harness that narrative power. He planned to leverage that initial moment, the daring encounter with the millionaire, to create buzz and intrigue. He would subtly highlight her background, not as a source of pity, but as a testament to her resilience and dedication. Her love for literature, her quiet contemplation of life's complexities, would be woven into her artistic identity, giving her music a depth and substance that set her apart from fleeting pop sensations. Finch believed that true artistry lay in authenticity, and Clara possessed it in spades. She hadn't sought out his attention, he had sought her out. She had responded to his dare with genuine passion, not calculated performance. This raw honesty was what he intended to cultivate and showcase. He saw her not as a manufactured product, but as a natural talent that needed the right platform and guidance. He also understood the importance of pacing. He wouldn't rush her. He would ensure that her development was organic, allowing her voice to mature and her artistry to deepen. The initial recordings would be carefully selected, showcasing her range and emotional depth. The public debut would be strategic, designed to make a significant impact, but without overwhelming her. The story of the dare of the waitress who sang her heart out for $100 would become a legend, a touchstone for her career. It would serve as a constant reminder of where she came from and the courage it took to pursue her dreams. Finch saw it as the perfect origin story, one that would endear her to audiences and give her a unique selling point in a crowded industry. He envisioned her performances not just as musical events, but as emotional experiences. He believed that Clara's voice had the power to do just that, to transcend the superficial and touch the human heart. He had a long-term strategy in mind, one that involved building a loyal fan base, creating timeless music, and establishing Clara as an artist of integrity and substance. The dare was the catalyst, the $100 the initial payment, but the true reward for Finch would be witnessing Clara reach her full potential, her voice filling concert halls and touching lives around the globe. He had dared a waitress to sing, and in doing so, he had set in motion a symphony of opportunities, a testament to the transformative power of courage, talent, and a keen eye for potential. The music had begun, and Finch was ready to conduct the entire orchestra. He had seen the first, breathtaking movement. Now, he was excited to orchestrate the grand finale. The story was far from over. It was just beginning, and Alistair Finch intended to ensure it was a masterpiece. Finch had recognized that spark, and he was ready to fan it into a brilliant flame. The world, he knew, was ready to listen. The silence had been broken, and a new song was about to fill the air. Clara's song. And that, dear viewer, is the power of a dare. It's not just about a bet or a challenge. It's about pushing boundaries, about stepping outside of comfort zones, and about discovering the hidden talents that lie dormant within us all. Alistair Finch saw a flicker of potential in Clara, a waitress with a voice, and with a simple dare and a $100 bill, he ignited a fire that would change her life forever. It's a reminder that opportunities can appear in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes, all it takes is a little courage, and perhaps a daring millionaire, to seize them. What if you were dared to do something extraordinary today? What hidden talent might you uncover? What dreams might you begin to chase? Think about it. That spark, that moment of inspiration, it could be just around the corner, waiting for you to step up and sing your own song. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Clara's journey. What did you think of her performance? Do you believe in seizing unexpected opportunities? Let us know in the comments below. If you were inspired by Clara's story, give this video a like and subscribe for more tales of courage and transformation. Until next time, keep listening for your song.